The iPad Pro can be a divisive device. You either fall into the, heck yes, this can replace my laptop camp, or you probably think the rest of us are crazy. There is no in between in that sentiment, none at all. Well, today I'm gonna pull out all of the stops and try to convince you that you should buy an iPad Pro. So, why should you? Let's find out. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. I think the iPad Pro is one of the best computers released in the last few years. And when I say iPad Pro, I specifically mean the 11-inch and the 12.9-inch models released in the last couple of years. These have vastly reduced bezels, and they have a futuristic design to them, which I like being in the future. Now, I'm personally a big fan of the 11-inch version, and it's the one that I personally own. And this thing actually, it never leaves my side. This iPad is always with me. And that's the first reason you should buy an iPad Pro. It's small, it's portable, it's not a problem to throw this into any bag and forget that it's there. I mean, you can totally forget that you even have it until you need to get some work done. Other laptops or bigger tablets can be great for travel, but they'll require a little more care when transporting. So you'll either have to get a bag with a laptop sleeve or some kind of specific laptop bag, or it'll be heavy enough that you'll start to notice it. Not so here. It's basically the size of a tablet of paper. Tablets used to be made of paper. Okay, Grandpa. I'm not that old. The second reason you should buy an iPad Pro is kind of tied in with the first. This device is powerful. Powerful. Whether you get a brand new model from 2020 or you get a refurbished last gen version, pound for pound, the iPad Pro might be the strongest computer you can find, especially at the price point. In regular day-to-day tasks like email, word processing, web browsing, this will be lightning fast. And I've yet to have a slowdown or any kind of stutter while even having a huge amount of Safari tabs open, because some of us, it's either that we forget to close the tabs or we like seeing how many tabs we can have open because it's the least efficient thing you can do. I'm not saying which side I fall on, but not only does this excel in daily tasks, but this new 120Hz display means that your gaming will be silky smooth. How hard is it to buy a computer for this price that will run Fortnite at 120 frames per second? The cool kids still play Fortnite, right? But where the power is really on display here for me is in video editing. The iPad Pro has no business at all being as good as it is in video editing. This thing easily handles 6K files from my Netflix approved Lumix camera, but it's the smoothest video editing experience I've ever had. There are all sorts of different apps that will give you basically 95% of the functionality that I get with my iMac Pro and Final Cut Pro X. Very expensive pieces of software and equipment that is almost perfectly matched here. The magical thing though, the reason that this is so shocking and why I wanna mention this is how fast this renders your file. This is hands down the fastest video rendering computer I've ever seen. Like way faster than real-time processing. All in this reasonably priced small package. Like it's unreal. Like typing this script out and then saying it right now, that's unreal. Number 3 on the reasons to buy iPad Pro, since the new iOS and iPad OS updates, you can actually pair a mouse and a keyboard to the iPad, no wires needed. I mean, if you want them, you can have them, but they're not needed. I've been using my Magic Mouse and Magic Keyboard, well, 2 Magic Keyboards, more on the other one in just a second. And that functionality really eliminates one of the major hurdles in using this as a primary productivity tool. You've heard me say this several times, but I really like the new style of cursor that Apple designed to make this system work. In all fairness, it does take a bit for your brain to reorient around it, but once it does, whoo boy. It's like a smart system disguised as a mouse cursor. And to make it extra cute, I mean, and functional, but it's kind of cute, when it's in front of a brighter or darker background, it will change to make itself more obvious, so you don't lose it in the background. Combine this with reason 4 to buy the iPad, external monitor support, and you can legitimately turn this into an almost complete desktop experience. The external display will only be in a 4:3 aspect ratio, so the sides can be cropped off. But once you start using it, you do get kind of used to it. I really enjoy plugging my iPad into a dock and being able to get actual email work done with a real keyboard. Or I can actually get some spreadsheets going or manage my calendar, which is always too overfull, and I can do that with a mouse and a keyboard. And this really is the reason to buy the iPad Pro and not the iPad. This is all made possible because of the USB-C port instead of Lightning. Lightning is fine if all you want to do is charge your tablet or your phone, but it doesn't have that oomph to get a lot of these good accessories or really good transfer speeds if you're trying to transfer data into the iPad. There are HDMI dongles and there are slower Lightning SD card dongles, but with USB-C, you can use the same accessories that you use with your Mac and to great extent. I would pay a pretty decent premium to get USB-C on my iPhone. For real. I don't think they'll ever do it, but it's something that I would very much like. This one feature might be enough reason to buy the iPad on its own. Like, productivity is, if you're a working professional, productivity is the most important thing. But wait, there's more. Number 5 is another keyboard. Gary, you're not the everyday dad anymore. You're the everyday keyboard guy because you just can't shut up about keyboards. The Magic Keyboard, not the one that we already mentioned. This thing is magic. I mean, it's actually magic. And I do mean the magnetic Magic Keyboard attachment that attaches to the iPad itself. This is pricey. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is a pricey accessory. But by simply laying the iPad on the back, look at that, it took seconds to install, you get a full, gloriously wonderful typing experience, and this gigantic trackpad giving you that mouse cursor support I talked about earlier without needing a mouse. And this might sound crazy to people, like how can a keyboard and a trackpad, those things have existed on laptops since nearly the beginning of laptops' existence. So why is this so good? Well, it's the way it integrates and interacts with the iPad. The biggest headache trying to use the iPad as a productivity tool and use it as a content consumption device is I don't want to always have to touch the screen. Touching the screen can be imprecise and it just takes extra time to have to move up and down. And that extra time, like frustrations like that, they will break a device. Nothing will make me stop using a device more than if I'm frustrated by it. Combining quick mouse movements with a really nice keyboard that doesn't add much in the way of bulk, I mean, look at this, that's all of it together. That's a huge win. You will gain a bit of a weight penalty. Like I said, this is a little bit bigger, but guess what? If you really want to save the weight and have a little bit more of a consumption experience, you just pull it off in an instant. Did you see how quick that was? Plus, and another thing that I really like about this keyboard is it gives you an additional USB-C for charging, so you can have multiple things connected. I'm telling you, this, in my mind, is a required accessory for the iPad Pro. Next up is the Apple Pencil Generation 2. Sure, I almost never use it. I bought it just because it was like the thing you buy with the iPad, but it's a gigantic benefit in the iPad Pro line. I know several graphic designers and photo editors that use the iPad Pro now primarily. They don't use a laptop, they don't use a desktop anymore because the pencil is precise enough to get real design and editing work done. Now, I've never personally used a Wacom style drawing surface, but I bet those folk are getting pretty nervous right about now because this, not only does it provide that drawing surface, that editing surface, but it provides way more functionality while letting me watch cat videos in very good definition. That's a win. And 7th, I think we're at 7. I lost count. And this is the big one for me. With all the working from home I've been doing, the speakers on the iPad Pro are really, really good. Maybe they're not as good as what's on the MacBooks, but what this does is this saves my ears and my personal well-being during the 30 teleconference meetings I'm on every week. I used to dial in with my iPhone, but now I dial in with the iPad, and then I can set the speakers without having to worry that the awful iPhone speaker sound will give me a headache. No kidding, like true story. I was getting at least one serious headache a day, and I was just getting worn out from all the phone calls using that speaker. Then I realized that because it's also iOS, I could start dialing in with my iPad. It's so good. Even with its side-mounted laptop-ish mode, here is a way better webcam than on the MacBooks. That's not saying much because those webcams are pretty bad, but it is better. If you've been doing a lot of meetings, this feature is, it's for you. Like that, it has saved my mental well-being. A couple more big ones, and the next one isn't really an iPad feature so much as it's an Apple ID feature that really just integrates and works remarkably well with how I use the iPad. I like how easily my information syncs across all of my devices. I do most of my personal calendar building and scheduling on the iPad, and as soon as I've done it, it's already on my MacBook, and it's already on my iPhone. There is no manual syncing required, and as a productivity tool, this is insane. because it meets that nexus of being more easy and more actually useful than my iPhone, but being smaller and more transportable than the MacBook. I do kind of wish my spreadsheets instantly updated too, but baby steps here, baby steps. Yes, I could use an app that instantly does that, but I like the spreadsheets we got on here. And since we're on the topic of productivity, here's a half reason. There's a full suite of apps already built into this device for making presentations, documents, etc. They might not be as powerful as the industry standard like Word and PowerPoint, but they are completely functional and you don't have to pay extra to get them. Right out of the box, this will work. I think that's a pretty undervalued aspect of the iPad. It just starts working as soon as you turn it on. You don't have to, like, what drives me crazy about Windows machines is I have to then go buy Microsoft Office. And that really leads me into the last reason you should buy one of these. The last reason you should buy one of these bad boys, and it's what it kind of ties all the other reasons together. The versatility. This iPad, this little tablet right here, this little thing that I carry with me everywhere, can have many configurations. You could use it only to watch awesome YouTube videos from Gary here. Just watch me. Or you could plug this into a monitor and hook it up to a keyboard and mouse and get legit video editing done. Or you could use the Magic Keyboard to treat it like a laptop that travels with you everywhere. You can have all of these options in one device, and I can't think of anything else at this price point. Yes, the Surface Book and other tablets have some overlap, but it's not the same thing. I don't think there are other devices that can do the same at this price. Every day I use the iPad Pro, I'm more and more impressed. It's basically joined at my hip and I take it with me everywhere. It's quickly supplanted the MacBook Pro 13 as my quick around the house computer. It's replaced my iPhone as my main email and scheduler. And if I was a little more brazen and a little more risk taker, I bet this could totally replace my main video editing computer too. I bet it could do it. Maybe I'll just have to sit down and try it. There is nothing else like this, and you should absolutely buy one. And you know what? If you like this video and you don't believe me about the power on display in the iPad Pro 2020, here's a link to my video showing just how crazy it is as a video editing computer. Click here to watch. Click, 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 click. Ow. Click, click. Thanks for watching. I hurt my elbow.